Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? Welcome, everybody. I am Shannon Carroll Washington. I am your hostess with the mostest for today. We are talking to women in food service. I am super excited because I get to talk to three amazing women from Guckenheimer. They're in leadership. They have a lot to say. We have a bunch of insights and we have a bunch of things to get into. Before I introduce them, though, I want to go ahead and do some housekeeping. So look over there. You guys see over there, there is a live chat box. We want to hear your feedback. If you have answers to some of those questions that we are talking about, put it in the chat box, send us your comments, give us a whoop whoop. If you want to say, preach, girl, preach, go ahead and put that in that chat box there too. We'll be watching those moments as we go through this. So without further ado, let me introduce you to my panel. First up, I have GEI's Alex Howren. She is the GEI Regional Director of Culinary for Data Centers based out of Atlanta. I have Christina Kent. She is a Gilead General Manager. She's in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then I have Shauna McQueen out of New York. She is a Spotify registered dietitian. I am going to go ahead and bring them all in. Ladies, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm bringing you in. Here we go. Hi.
Hi. Hello. So good to be here. Thank you.
All right. All right, guys, so we're going to get started. I just want to be like, don't be nervous. Get the shakies out, all that good stuff. We're here. We're just going to have a conversation. We're just going to talk about the things that are hot button issues. It's Women's History Month. We're talking to women. We're doing the things as women. What are the things that get us? So let's just jump right in because literally we have an hour and I want to get through a lot of stuff. So I'm going to start off with this step. What do you guys think about this? In the food industry, roughly 53% of entry-level positions are held by women. Once people get promoted to manager, it drops down to 37% women. And then when you get all the way up in the top, like the C-suite, it's 18% women. Like, just let's look at the visual for this, okay? But as we look at it, when we start off, we're 50%, right? Now let's go, oh, you're going to be a manager. Like, it seems like that funnel is just going to go down, right? Take a look at this. Women are right there in gray. You see it going smaller and smaller and smaller as we get promoted. Christina, okay, so you were promoted to general manager. What do you think about this?
Wow, we got a lot of work to do. First of all, I think that, for this, I think for myself and where I am today, it was because I had a voice and I felt confident enough to speak for myself. And I think looking at those numbers, it shows that maybe not everyone knows how to use their voice. And so as leaders, I think it's so important that with our frontline employees that we really give them the opportunity to be heard, to support them, to encourage them, to enlighten them, to be their biggest cheerleaders. And I think that that's going to be the first step in really, closing that gap.
All right. Shauna, how about you?
Certainly it's not something that we want to see. And Shannon, I think a lot of this has certainly been exacerbated by the pandemic as women have overwhelmingly been forced to leave the job field. So it's going to take a lot of effort to not only help them as they re-enter, but to re-enter and to get into these leadership positions that we want to help inspire them and encourage them and support them as they come back.
All right.
Particularly in the hospitality and food service industries, which has been, of course, hit particularly hard by COVID, this is going to be something that is going to take a lot of effort to fix.
All right. So, Alex, 50% all the way down to 18%.
Yes.
Tell me how you feel, girl.
Yes. Okay. So it doesn't seem like we have a problem getting in, right? We jump in, we see the job. Yes, we can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. As soon as you get a little bit higher, that's when the questions start coming. Do I have the capacity? Is there enough space in my life? Will people listen to what I have to say? You start asking yourself all of these questions and second guessing. And at that point, like I call this, and I'm sure if any of you are listening that I've said this to, you know this, it requires a leap of faith. You're either going to do it or you don't. And unfortunately, when you get down and you see to that 18%, that leap of faith isn't as easy as it seems. There's many leaps of faith that I took. You just like hold on to your tits and jump like, oh my God, maybe this will work out. Maybe it won't. And then sometimes it does. And then other times it doesn't. But like, that fail never defines you. It just becomes like this nasty part of you that you like try to work through in therapy and whatnot. But yeah, it requires some self-reflection and It's a startling number, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm happy for the 18%.
Well, I'm glad you brought up some startling numbers. Shauna, you brought this to my attention the other day. We were talking about 2/3 of all student loan debt is held by women. Okay? All student loans, like we're at school, we do a lot of schools. But get this, for every dollar that a man makes, a woman only makes 74 cents. Shauna.
Yeah. So this is something that I think is really important for us to highlight, particularly today, because as you guys probably know, yesterday, March 24th, was Equal Pay Day. So that means that it takes women, white women in particular, until March 24th for their salaries to net out what it would be for a white man. For Black women, that is 20 months. For Indigenous women, that is 21 months. For Latino women, that is 22 months for them to get to that same point of where a white man would be making the salary. So this is something that is disheartening because women are typically more educated than their male counterparts, and certainly are prepared for a lot of these many leadership positions. And that gender pay gap is really important because over time that leads to a really disheartening gender wealth gap. So if you think about it, men have 3 times more retirement savings than women do. So over the course of a woman's career, having things like more debt and getting paid less money for the same work, this adds up to, on average, over $800,000 over the course of a career. So this is something that really needs a lot of work for us to help remedy. And as women, of course, it's important for us to advocate for ourselves, for our teammates. But this is something that we need men's help to solve, and particularly men in leadership positions, because equal pay, equal work. This is something that people have been saying for a really, really long time, and we're still not there yet. There's still certainly work to be done.
Howren, I see you. I'm just gonna let the dog out. Howren, what do you have to say about that? Like,
no. So I do want to point out, I agree that we do come to the table with a higher education, not because we're smarter, not because we're more driven. It's because we have this internal need to bring more to the table, to feel that we're validated, our seat is validated. And so that in turn, leads to the higher education, to the cost. And then even still, when we do get that seat at that table, how much more do we need to prove that we belong there? Now, whether that could be an internal feeling or one that is an actual reality at that table, the fact that we're even thinking about it or having it cross our mind is certainly problematic.
yeah, Alex, you brought up some really good points, but before we get that, Christina, I want to hear you chime in on this.
Yeah. Again, I think just so much work that needs to be done. I think that, I agree exactly what Shauna has to say and Alex has to say. And it does. I feel like I've just had to work a little bit harder than my male counterparts, and not just, in general. I think just the way that I represented myself, the way I represented my team, the way, speaking up in meetings. I mean, there's just so many things, and so I just think that, we just have to be able to start closing that gap for all.
Yeah. So Alex, you brought up this really great point about, having more education, having the need to do that. I just want to show you guys this next picture. I'm calling this the confidence gap. As you can see, there is a string going across these minds. And on the left, you see a woman. It seems like she's hanging on by a thread, while the man is tight-roping across it with ease. What do you guys think about this? Do you think the reason why we have more education is because we feel like we need it? Or is it because it's a requirement for us to even get in the door? Jump in, anybody, because I know we got to unpack this.
I love this, this depiction in general. I can't help but look at this female and think of that picture of that little kitty hanging, hang in there, kitty, you can do it. I definitely feel like there is a lack of confidence, and there's so many external forces that create that, whether it's your own internal, like I think about my own, and it wasn't that I was, underqualified that made me have those insecurities. It was just my own upbringing, my own self-worth. And so, but for other people, it's absolutely external factors, like you can definitely walk into a room that's, predominantly or dominantly all males or all white males, and you're a very small Mexican woman, very young, and let's see how good I can do here. And so, it's definitely like a maybe an extra step that you're thinking, I need to walk cautiously. But yeah, I can see that.
Who wants next on this one? Donna, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think this is where the phrase imposter syndrome, I think, comes to mind, of women feeling, do I actually belong here? And I mean, of course, the case is yes, but as Alex mentioned, if you don't really see yourself represented, especially in leadership, it can be difficult to kind of see yourself there.
Totally. Christina?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when I first started my career 20 years ago in management, I was the first female manager to be hired in California in one of those restaurant locations. They were based out of Pacific Northwest. And so I really didn't have anybody as an example, and so I worked with all men. And it was like that for 8 years, for a really, really long time. And so, I just had to learn to just be a little bit tougher, have a little bit more thicker skin. And I just really just did my best to help support those, my employees, my team members below me. And in those 8 years, I had promoted 2 servers to supervisors, and then they became managers. And then it was fun. By the time I had left that restaurant, because I was moving to Arizona, there was now 3 female managers and 1 male manager, and then of course 3 chefs in the back. But we had flipped the table, and so that was something that I felt really proud about.
Yeah, that's awesome. As we talk about like who you are and what you do and all the things, like part of it is, I feel like when we describe ourselves, I am, and all the adjectives that come along with it, and how we decide to describe ourselves. Sometimes the first thing that we hear, like when you say, oh yeah, I'm strong, I'm outspoken, I'm this, I'm that. But sometimes all people see is, you're a woman chef. You're this, you're that. Like, what part of I am, your identity, do you feel like people are missing, or they kind of sleep on it? Or, how do you describe yourself? Shauna, I'm going to start with you this time.
Honestly, this is a question that I find particularly difficult and anxiety inducing, because having to even label myself as I am something can be kind of tough. But for me, obviously, I identify as a woman, as a nutritionist, as a wife to my husband, cat mom, if you will. And, I think that sometimes this statement means women in general get a lot of qualifiers in terms of whatever their credentials are or whatever their position is. And, I think that it's something that we can certainly step away from at this point.
Yeah, totally. Alex, I was having a conversation with you, and you were like, I hate that people just automatically, when they describe me, like, oh yeah, I'm the woman director of culinary. Like, what would you rather people describe you as?
Absolutely. I think about all of the different things that I am. I'm Mexican, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter. I'm so many different things. So why aren't any of those put in front of my title? What about me being a woman makes it so important to put that in front of my title? So I think about gender marking. And gender marking is a gender-specific job title, like a stewardess. It implies that there is a specific gender performing that role. Mm-hmm. And so now we go into a gender-neutral title, where like lawyer or firefighter, director of culinary. So what about those roles do you feel the need to put female or woman in front of it? Like, what is the advantage of doing that? And so, I mean, what are the disadvantages? I feel having that in front of my name automatically puts me into a social category that in the past and in today's society tends to undermine. And so at first glance, like you think, yes, it's empowering. I am a female director of culinary. But at times it's polarizing. I work with two insanely talented and strong partners in my level, but none of them have male in front of it. So in turn, does that make me need to operate different, to manage different because of that? And it can casually produce some gender stereotyping. So I'm always vigilant. I'm always looking at what the functionality of having a female in front of my title is. I don't want to negate that there isn't a struggle, but I also am not going to ignore the casual stereotyping that can come from that.
All right, Christina, I want you to hold tight because I want to move on to this next thing. And I'm going to give you dibs on this one. I was talking to Howren and she was like, oh, have you seen that commencement speech by Shonda Rhimes? And if you guys don't know who Shonda Rhimes is, she is the creator, writer of Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, like all these really great shows. Like literally where she writes, her office is called Shondaland. Like if I had a land, Shannon Land, like it would be amazing. But she said something about anybody who says they can do it all, they're lying. And I can say what she said, but I can do it justice, but I think hearing it from her own words. So Christina, listen to this. You're going to be the first one out of this video. You guys listen to the clip.
Somebody has to tell you the truth. Shonda, how do you do it all? The answer is this: I don't. Whenever you see me somewhere succeeding in one area of my life, that almost certainly means I am failing in another area of my life. If I am killing it on a Scandal script for work, I am probably missing bath and story time at home. If I'm at home sewing my kids' Halloween costumes, I'm probably blowing off a rewrite I was supposed to turn in. If I'm accepting a prestigious award, I'm missing my baby's first swim lesson. If I'm at my daughter's debut in her school musical, I am missing Sandra Oh's last scene ever being filmed at Grey's Anatomy. If I am succeeding at one, I am inevitably failing at the other. That is the trade-off. That is the Faustian bargain one makes with the devil that comes with being a powerful working woman who's also a powerful mother. You never feel 100% okay. You never get your sea legs. You're always a little nauseous. Something is always lost. Something is always missing.
Wow.
Christina's first, y'all. Christina's first.
Oh my gosh. So powerful, so true, so, oh my gosh, I wish I'd seen that video 20 years ago, right? As I went through my career, you get married, you have kids, then you try to balance, restaurant work life, with babies. And wow, I just felt like I just had been heard. And it just, honestly, my kids mean everything to me and they're my world, but they're also the reason why I work so hard and I'm so dedicated and so passionate for what I do. Not only that, but I also want to be a good example for them. I want to show that, whatever you want to do, you can do it as long as you work hard and you're true to yourself. So wow, that was beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. Who's next?
You go, Shauna. I'm talking too much.
So for me, I just love the openness and the transparency that she kind of brings to that speech of, I think that there is so much pressure on women, especially women as they reach leadership positions, to be the perfect mom and to make sure they get everything ready for the bake sale, but also are, prepared for that big meeting. And, it is just so much pressure and so much weight for one person to carry on their shoulders, and for, such a brilliant, powerful woman to acknowledge that, it's a really unrealistic expectation to have all areas of your life completely balanced out like that. There's a little bit of give and take there. So we have to understand, what kind of give and take are we personally okay with? And then, as employers, are we placing realistic expectations on, particularly women who are caregivers or primary caregivers in their family? But I just love that it's like, you can't do it all. Like, let's stop pretending that this is something that we should all aim for. And, people have been sharing this like thing on LinkedIn, but it's like, we need to stop glamorizing the grind. It's burning us out, and it's unrealistic for us to have these expectations that all of these balls in the air we can just continue to juggle indefinitely.
Yeah. So if everyone here has an extra 24 minutes of their life, I highly recommend watching that entire speech. Shonda delivers some insanely important and relevant, even from 1991, life lessons. That's just going to be my plug right there. So in reference to this, my whole life, like, I've compared myself to food. I mean, I'm a chef at heart. And so what do we do with food? We zig, we zag. There's no traditional set path that I have ever followed. There's never like a box or a list of boxes that I've completely checked, because at that point I had to pivot left, I had to pivot right. And so if someone's looking for, like, how did you get to where you got? I mean, I don't know. Like, how much time do you have, for me to tell you what happened? And I am a complete, I'm a situation that occurred, and then I just troubleshoot my way through it all. And like Shonda said, like, there's no way that I completely, like, right now it's my daughter's birthday and she's sitting over there like, well, hi. So I mean, this is just the trade-off, right? And then at what point are you like, nope, not going to do that one, I'll do this one instead. It's okay. It's going to be fine. Everyone's going to survive. I watched my mom raise the both of us. She's over there too. I watched my mom raise the both of us, single life. I was a latchkey kid. Like, it's okay. I turned out all right. Turned out okay.
Yeah. Like, I just want to chime in on this because I cannot stop thinking. Like, I felt horrible that I didn't get to put as much time into this panel as I wanted, because the last 2 weeks I took off to take care of my kid who may have been exposed to COVID. And when I think about that, like, my husband went to work every single day, but I was the one that took the 2 weeks off because it made more sense that, oh yeah, mom is going to be home with the kid, and just being a woman and feeling like, oh my God, there's so much I could have been doing for work instead of
we missed you, Shannon. Let's not lie.
I know. And I'm just like, I felt like, dang, I wish I could be there. But then I realized, if I'm not there for my kid, like, somebody's going to get shortchanged. I thought I could work while he was at home, but I was like, no, I'm not going to be there for him. I'm not going to be there for work. He's going to be like coming in during meetings, distracting everything, hitting my keyboard. And it was just like, I have a toddler. Like, there's no way. And I was like, you know what? Let's spend a bunch of time. I had this huge goal of potty training. It definitely did not happen, but we're going to make it work. One of the other things, I'm going to pivot because this is kind of near and dear to my heart. There's this notion of intersectionality. So that is when you have an intersection of, there's one group that you identify with and another one. And for me, being a Black woman, I feel like being Black is a wham, being a woman is a wham. So I get that double whammy that happens. For me, one example of this is, I look really great on paper, like my resume, and I can sound good on a phone interview. But I have times when I walked in person for an interview and they kind of took a step back, like, who are you? How are you supposed to be here? And they automatically had some bias about me. So my question to the panel and everybody out there on the chat, have you ever had a time where you felt like there was an intersection of two different groups happening with you that kind of, you felt like you were being held back even more? Who wants to go first? Christina, how about you?
Quite honestly, I don't ever feel like I've been in that situation. I guess I've been very fortunate that I haven't been. I've always just been very confident, strong, and, could be shaking in my boots, but you wouldn't have known that seeing my face when I'm handling those situations. So I can't really think of a time that I was in that situation.
Does anybody else?
Well, I can just say, definitely, I can certainly recognize coming from the place of privilege that I am, but I can say that being particularly feminine, sometimes I think you do get a little bit judged as maybe being, not as good of a leader, not as sharp or discerning. And, a lot of this just comes from, in general, leadership qualities that we tend to celebrate tend to be qualities that we tend to associate with being more masculine. So I think there's maybe a little bit something there, but
yeah. I mean, when I first started with Guckenheimer, it was 2015. I was very young and walked into the South kitchens. Like that was very big old Southern boys. And like I walk in, I'm like, how are you doing your barbecue? Are you following your recipe? Like, what is this woman doing? And so it took a lot to figure out how to get buy-in. And so, yeah, absolutely. Like I've felt that way. I didn't let it own me, and I didn't let it, sway me either way. I had a job to do, and I was going to make sure I was going to do it. I just had to be very tactical, AKA manipulative, to influence them into what our company was, driving towards. And then once they get on board and I guess this kind of circle back to how much harder do you have to work? I got to lift those 50-pound bags of flour. Do they know that I'm really strong? And that's weird. Maybe I didn't have to do that, but I did. So yeah, I mean, I definitely feel that, and I don't feel that so much now. And I'm very cautious to make sure that I don't do that to others. Ooh, how the tables have turned. You see someone else walk in, you're like, who's this guy? Who's this girl? So because I felt like that at one point, it's defining, because I make sure I don't do it to others.
Yeah. So, okay, cautionary thing. Here's the disclosure. This next slide I'm going to show you is another hot button thing. Don't hold back. Are y'all ready for this? I'm not bossy. I am the boss. How many times, and I want to see this in the chat, all the ladies in the chat, and even the men, whatever. I want you to put ones into the chat. If you've ever felt like your personality trait, let's say you wanted to speak up about something and people said you were too aggressive, or you were sitting on a GBC and you were just pensive, you were thinking, somebody's like, you should smile more. How many of those things that they would say to a woman that they would never say to a man, how many people have experienced that where, oh yeah, I'm talking and I'm getting a little upset, and they're like, oh, she's the angry Black woman. It's those things that they change you and they automatically throw it in there, and they totally change the tide. If it was a dude that did it, would it be different? And I see the ones happening in the chat. Who wants to start on this one first?
Oh my God, I'm going to take it, because let's fast forward a few years past, little scared REC Alex. And now I'm just whipping openings out left and right, and I'm owning the floor. I understand. Doom, 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 doom. And I cannot tell you how many times yes, sir. Yes, chef. And it didn't bother me at first. And it still doesn't bother me now. Cause I mean, I don't know, is it that my demeanor and my, my way of delivery, or my really fast answer that you didn't expect to get right away? And so, every now and then I get called yes, sir. And I giggle at it. Is that a compliment, or should I be, should I take that as a bad thing? I don't know. The jury's still out, guys. Jury's still out. But you can call me chef instead, sir.
Right.
I can say for me, I don't experience this in my role now, which I'm thrilled to say, but I can say in my last position, I remember really advocating for myself for promotion that I was certainly due, and I was working very hard. And I ended up getting told that it was unattractive of me to go out and try to advocate for myself like that. So that kind of, it was seen as kind of aggressive and unattractive. So that was certainly disappointing, and kind of reminds me of, I'm not bossy, I'm the boss. But I think that it's a response like that makes it really difficult for women to go and advocate for themselves, even when they deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, always, I'm 5'1", short, Mexican as well, only female most of the time in the restaurant industry. And so a lot of times, I'm too serious, or you're too intimidating. I was too bubbly. I was too emotional. It's been everything, here, there, everywhere. And you just learn to just be who you are, and just really just know and have confidence in who you are, and just keep proving it. You don't have to say anything back, show it in your actions. show it in your work. And so that's what I did. Yeah.
I do want to call out Anne's comment, or how many men have any of us heard that we're called bossy? I feel like, yes, there it is right there. Thank you. That is a great reflective food for thought moment, unless anybody wants to serve it up right now.
And this is something that starts so young. Like, it's almost like cute to say to a little girl, oh, she's bossy, you know, and it already starts to create a negative connotation around a woman being in power or advocating for what she wants.
Yeah. Shauna, I think in one of our previous conversations, you brought up, like, it starts young because we're trained young. Like, we get different toys. We get different training. I mean, the different colors and what we are primed to be. And so, like, I guess societal norms have now changed that.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it kind of socializes us from a very young age to even choose certain career paths. So, you know, men may be more likely to go into STEM or to go into finance. And, you know, hospitality is an industry that is very heavily represented by women. So is nursing and, frankly, nutrition, where I am. And, you know, some of that, I think, definitely starts when we're really young. We don't get, and that comes down to representation. Once again, if we don't see ourselves in the boardrooms or, you know, XYZ, then it's a lot harder for us to carve that path out for ourselves.
Yeah. So in my experience, and I mentioned, you know, angry Black woman, like, if I like speak my mind and I'm saying, oh man, I don't like this, and then people automatically, they start to become intimidated, or they're like, oh, Shannon and her attitude again, and, you know, for speaking up. And I found myself sometimes kind of straying away and not speaking up. The next thing I want to talk about is shying from the spotlight, and, you know, some of the reasons why women do it, but then also, how do we get past, like, if you have somebody who's more quiet, they're not speaking up for themselves, should they speak up for themselves more? Or as a manager, how do you, like, take off that blind spot and see that person that may not be so outspoken, but they still have credentials and the competency to be able to do the things to get that promotion? All right, who wants to start? Christina, I always pick you.
Yeah, so these are one of the things I think that this has really goes back to that first slide and that 50%, because I think, you know, they only see just a quick Polaroid picture of you doing your job, right? And I can't tell you how many times somebody had said to me, oh my gosh, I could never do your job, right? They don't know my whole job. They don't know the rewards of it. They may only see that like quick snapshot of it all. And so I think it's really just sitting down, listening to them, seeing, you know, what are your aspirations? What are your needs? You know, bringing them together, the peers, bringing them all in a room together, just really having a nice conversation around this, you know, building their, you know, encouraging them, building the ones that are quiet. I also think, you know, encouragement as far as pointing out their strengths, like, wow, you know, you're so organized with this, you know, finding tasks that you can delegate to them to make them feel, oh, wow, I have a task, I'm important, I'm feeling empowered, you know, those kinds of things. And I tell you, when you start doing that, then women start doing it to one another. And then that's where that whole support starts happening.
Yeah, for sure. I think also important is to ask the questions to someone that you feel comfortable with. I can think of 3 individuals right now in our company who reached out and, hey, I'm wanting to move up. Like, what do I do? And I think that just that first step of asking the question really catapults you, because I guarantee you, when you feel that you're comfortable with that person, they'll believe in you as well. And they will help you and roadmap with you and walk you through the stages, because there's nothing better than finding an employee that wants more and is willing to like work really hard for it. And what else can I do, chef? And to me, like, that is way more empowering than any kind of direction that I could give. That shows that you believe in yourself. And I mean, I know after that, you'll go leaps and bounds. And from there, you're going to stretch and give leaps and bounds to other people and so forth. And so it pays it forward. So now we start seeing that 18% trickle up, right? Or trickle up, I guess, go up. Yeah, it works. And so I really think that the shadow is real. The shyness is totally real. You can't help that. I think the three of us were all shy when we got on here, like, but then, Shannon came in, we were like, Shannon, we're scared. And she helped us. And so there you go. Like, it's a really like small, minute moment, but I mean, it's there. You just have to like ask for it. Don't be afraid for that.
Mm-hmm. Shauna, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that these are all really good points. And, creating that environment where somebody feels even comfortable to step forward can maybe need a little bit of an opening to kind of help people do that sometimes if they're particularly shy. But, I think, again, we tend to celebrate a lot of like very masculine kind of aggressive qualities when it comes to leadership. So sometimes if a woman doesn't feel like they have those qualities, or if that doesn't come naturally to them, then I think certainly it is easy to kind of be a little bit more quiet in a meeting. And I know for me personally, like I think things over a lot. So, the first time I'm hearing something, there's a lot that's kind of going on in terms of me processing and coming up with ideas and, what's going to come next. And, the first or the loudest person in the room isn't necessarily going to have the best idea, but it's like helping to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable, everybody feels valued and able to contribute. So if that isn't in a particular meeting, as a leader, how can you maybe check in with somebody in maybe some more private way that they might feel more empowered or comfortable with? And I think that, being a leader, it's important to recognize that people are going to respond to different tactics or different strategies in terms of communication. So can we accommodate that by embracing a bunch of different styles?
Yeah, totally. So you guys brought up two really great points, mentorship and allyship, when we talked about that last topic. I want to get into this next thing. I don't know if you guys were on the last series chat that we had last Thursday. It was with Chef Z and Chef Lauren. I'm sure somebody has a link. They'll put it in the chat for you guys if you missed it. It's in the GHG newsletter. It's all over the place. So we'll make sure you guys can see it if you missed it. But I want to play a clip from that interview. Chef Lauren, you're going to watch yourself. Sorry. But yeah, here we go. We're going to play this clip for you. And then we're going to just like dissect.
Was there a time where you felt particularly empowered by another woman in your professional career?
Wow. So this has been a challenge for me. It has been. So I have to be honest. I for some reason, I've been more empowered by the male figures, mentors in my life, more than the women for some reason or another. So that's why I'm very focused on it, on women supporting women, because I haven't been able to experience that throughout the career in a way that I really needed or wanted to. So I become that for other women, so my teammates, all the employees that work at Zeta Cook, like I've been their mentor. I've empowered them and helped them as much as possible.
So yeah, sorry, I cut that clip, but we got the point, right? She was saying that historically she did not have one woman that she could look up to, but she had men that look up to. So the guys on this chat, I'm looking at you guys. I see you, Travis. I see you, Larry. You guys have an opportunity for allyship, and we want to like definitely hone that in. But she said something very compelling, and that's women helping women. She didn't have a woman that she could look up to as a mentor, but she is that for somebody. What do you say to our audience that are saying, I can't be a mentor? How do I make that happen? Whoever wants to jump in first, let me know.
I think, even the term mentor might seem a little bit intimidating, but even being a partner or a good colleague where somebody can bounce ideas off of you, I think that certainly has value too. If you feel like you're not ready to take on that mentorship role, you can still provide a lot of value by simply being a good friend and colleague in the workplace.
Yeah. Thankfully, I had, a slew of very strong females to guide me through, some fairly difficult times. But I would be remiss to say not to mention, I mean, getting to Guckenheimer, I had some incredibly strong culinary directors that were allies. They were male, and they believed in me and walked me through all sorts of things that, you know, I had concerns and issues and troubles with. So, I mean, I come from both. I had both of those things, which is why, I mean, right now I have 2 male RECs, and they're complete allies for, you know, females and for women. And I just, it's a complicated question for me, because I've been empowered by both and continue to see others empowering, or both others empowering as well. So it's complicated for me to take that division.
Yeah, Christina, I want you to see this comment right here for you. So, shout out to Paul Fairhead, y'all. Yeah, so definitely, Christina, what do you have to say like about mentorship and allyship?
Well, same as Alex, you know, I've had both, and I've been very blessed to have both in my career growing up at different, you know, points, stages, and just also just being that for one another, you know, just for your leaders below you, your team, you know, it's just really about being there for them, listening, you know, knowing, reading the signs. Sometimes they come in and you know that they're off, you know, and you just, are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you need a minute? You know, and just really identifying, you know, with what's happening around you, you know, and just really being compassionate and empathetic and all of those things, I think really helps being a great mentor, a great colleague, like Shauna said, you know, having, you know, supporting your peers and just knowing that, you know, we're in this together, you know, and making sure that everybody feels that they're a part of the team, no matter where they are in the level. I think that's the biggest thing, is just being a team.
Sean?
Yes, agreed. And, you know, I also have been fortunate to be supported by both men and women in my career, but, you know, certainly look forward to continuing to see more women in leadership who can help to continue to provide that mentorship.
All right, so before we get to our last topic, I want to encourage everybody who's watching, if you have questions for our panel, go ahead and start putting them in now, because we can get to some of them towards the end. But the last thing that I want to bring up, it's one of my favorite quotes, okay? And I'm just going to read this directly to the audience right now. Maya Angelou says, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." So you guys heard it. It's right there. Here we go. Know better, do better. So I want the panel, you guys think of sometimes, I don't care how many you have, because for this audience, I want to see that 50%. Why is it going down to 18? Like, I want to see that gap close. What tangible things, what tangible advice do you have for our audience about what things do they need to know so they can do better if that is the case? What things do, you know, I have a few, but I want you guys to share yours first. Let me know who wants to go first. What advice do you have for our audience? Oh, she's getting her pen going.
I just need to think about it, and then I need to write it down where Shauna or Christina goes.
All right, Alex, think about it.
I'll go first. Okay, perfect. Wow, I love that. I think that we're always learning and we're always growing, you know, right? We learn that without learning or making mistakes, there is no growth. I think that, you know, being courageous, vulnerable, you know, and knowing that it's okay to not have the answers and to ask the questions. I think that's a lot of times too, like you may go into situations and think, I have to know everything, and you don't. You only know what you know. And once you know that, then you share that with others, and then you start learning that next thing. And that person ahead of you should start, you know, sharing that. And I think that's women supporting women. That's mentorship. That's allies. I think that's everything, you know.
Totally. Shauna?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that statement is nice because it's saying that we don't all have to be perfect. And I think sometimes when it comes to things like, you know, gender relationships or race, people get nervous that they're going to make the wrong move, and it stops them from doing anything. So I like that quote because I think it helps open up the opportunity to learn and grow, which I think can be really important. But, when it comes to closing that gap, we need to continue to support women because for a billion different reasons. But, I think that women are particularly hit hard, or their careers are particularly hit hard when it comes to things like having a family. And of course, they do more unpaid work around the house and are more likely to be a caregiver to another family member. And we need to help to support women to be able to, also choose their careers and their families. I think that, we lose a lot of women because they're stuck with a really tough choice of, having to either do family or, having to have that high-powered career. And we really just need to have the flexibility to be able to have both those things, like men have.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So on the International Women's Day, we had that panel, and Adriana said something that really resonated with me, and it was so basic. It was just 2 words, like say yes. And I feel like hashtag say yes is like my theme. I love it now. Be fearless. I was talking that very same day, I was talking to our Lean Path partner, and I was quoting Adriana. And I said, and she goes, absolutely. She goes, I was the first, IT person at her company at one point. And somebody would because her office was in the basement, someone would ping her and she's like, yep, I'll be right there. And then she would quickly Google how do I fix this? Okay, I got it. And then she would go up there and fix it. But she very well could have not taken that position because she didn't feel enough that she was qualified. So, I mean, that's one. I think also, do better, be better. Don't settle, don't give up. You can walk into a kitchen in a leadership role and it's so difficult to get everybody aligned and oh, you've been here for how long? And oh, you've always done it this way. Oh, this is how the customer or client likes it. Also, you keep trying and you keep trying and you're not chipping away at anything. So you're kind of oh, just give up. Don't do that. Don't give up. Don't settle. Don't say this is okay for them. You'll start making concession after concession. And then you start losing yourself and you become that stereotype of they couldn't make it happen. And you start settling for excuses. Don't do that. Be better than that. Keep moving forward. That was a huge one for me. I feel like do better, be better was my last 2 years as an REC theme. It still is right now.
Yeah. So when we talk about know better, be better, I'm going to share a few things. And again, if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in because we're going to get to those in a second. So I couldn't get on this without sharing some of my advice. I know I am new to food service, but I'm not new to working corporate. And so I have 4 things. I'm going to get through them really quickly. You guys know I can talk really fast. The first thing is you don't need permission to be great. You do not need to wait for somebody to say, yes, you can go and be great. If you know in the heart of hearts that you can go and be great, go be great. You don't need permission to do that. You don't need to wait for somebody oh, I'm not old enough. Oh, I haven't been given the opportunities, all that things. And when we talk about opportunity, I say this time and time again, stay ready so you ain't got to get ready because you never know when an opportunity is going to knock. Some of you guys know I worked at CNN before I came here. Did you guys know that I didn't interview to work at CNN? It happened in a meeting. And literally, I had to make sure that I was ready. So if that opportunity presented itself, I could jump right in. And there's things that you can do to get yourself ready. So that way you can go and be part of that opportunity. Because I would hate for you to have an opportunity. It's this dream thing. And you're like, oh, man, I knew I should have worked on this knife skill a long time ago. Oh, man, I knew I should have worked on this a long time ago. And that brings me to my next point. There's a season for everything. Okay. So right now where you feel like you're stuck and you're like, oh man, I'm not moving up. What can you be doing in this season to get you going? What can you be doing to prep yourself? Is it going back to school? Is it brushing up on new skills? Is it taking some classes? Is it mentoring somebody else? Sometimes you just need a break. Your life needs to be on hiatus. That's okay. But just know where you need to be in that season and know that it's okay. And the last thing the advice that I have, and this is really for everybody. The last thing I have is there's a difference between being planted and being buried. And a lot of us have a lot of dreams that we're having funerals for, but really we're just seeds that are under the ground. You're acting like your life is in a coffin. You're acting like your dream is in a coffin. You're acting like you're dead already and you're not trying. There is a difference between falling and failing. The difference between failing and falling is when you fail, it's like, oh man, I failed. I can't get up. I can't go on. There's nothing else. When you fall, it means that you were standing at one point and you got down to the ground and you got back up. The difference between falling and laying down means you quit. You fell down and you laid down. That just means that you laid down. But if you fall, that means, oh, I'm going to get back up. And that's okay, because those things, when we fall, we can learn from them. And when I go back and I say, if you're planted and not buried, being in a coffin and being a seed, they look exactly the same. You are under a bunch of dirt and you're waiting to break free. But there's that time when you just need to get rooted. You need to tend to those roots. You need your water, you need your sun, you need whatever you need to become that plant that you want. And a lot of you guys are having funerals for your dreams, and it hasn't even begun to break the surface yet. You're still alive. You still have time. Now, that was my advice for everybody. And I see your guys' questions coming in. We're going to get to them. I have one more thing. And I noticed this morning, you guys. Today is exactly 40 weeks away from December 30th. That's one day before the last day of this year. I'm challenging the women. And for women who know, 40 weeks is a very significant number. That is a full term. You've been pregnant. You're going to have a baby. That's what they tell you, 40 weeks. And I'm challenging everybody. Right now is 40 weeks exactly from the end of this year. What are you going to birth inside you in these 40 weeks? That is the one difference that we have from men, is that we're able to give birth. And so for these 40 weeks, and guys, you guys can have birth too right now. For these next 40 weeks, make some smart goals. Set some objectives for yourself. What do you want to do? Do you need to link up with a mentor? Do you need to link up with a peer? But I think I'm challenging all of us in these 40 weeks that's left in 2021. What are we going to birth inside of us? And stop having a funeral for your dream. Stop thinking that you need permission to be great. All right. And with that being said, let's get to some questions. Shall we, guys? Yes. Can I be your alarm clock, Amelia? No. So let's see here. That was this question here. Shannon, can you be my alarm clock? I'd love to wake up to your wisdom every single day. Oh, thank you. You guys can watch this video. It will be up and will be recorded for the rest of this duration. I saw another question from Amelia pop up. I want to get to that one. Here we go. Amelia, you had a serious question here. You said, what are your recommendations for how we can tap into our collective experience and help our organization create a more equitable workspace? So who wants to tackle that one? Shauna, you look like you are gearing to go for this one. Recommendations for making our organization more equitable. I keep not saying it right, but you guys get it. You saw it on the screen.
Totally. This is a tough one, but certainly I am really inspired by just the approach in general that Guckenheimer and ISS has had to Women's History Month in general. I think that through these events and through a lot of the meetings and plannings that we've done, it's created a really powerful network. And I think that this is the start of something that will help to create a lot of positive change.
Okay. Anybody else? When we talk about equality versus equity and making our organization more equitable, I can automatically think about diversity and inclusion and just make sure that we see everybody. Yeah, go ahead, Christina.
Yeah, no, I was totally agree with Shauna, and it was going to bring up the diversity and inclusion as well. I think that we're just putting together some great teams together that will be able to make sure that it's just spread throughout our organization. But I think as leaders, it's important that we take this information that we have access to and make sure that we're bringing it to our frontline employees and that we're talking about it and we're making it a comfortable space for them to talk about it as well. So I think that it's just making sure that we're taking the information and bringing it to the frontline employees as well.
I like an organic approach. I always feel like something grassroots stays and sustains a lot. I like the notion of all of these panels that have happened and pings that I've received afterwards or emails afterwards or that I've given as well. So, completely agree with what Shauna said. It's all about networking. Who did you see? Who did you like? Who did you connect with? I've messaged random people after panels just to say that was really interesting. What do you think of this? And I think that that's a really great approach, Amelia. Just even on a call that we had earlier this week, hearing people say things like, I'm gonna reach out to that person, write it down, write a question. I guarantee if you reach out to any of us, we'd be thrilled to have a conversation with you.
All right. So I have this question. Will this be an ongoing monthly event? I'm going to go ahead and address that. That's in the works. TBD. We're not just stopping at Women's History Month. We realize that this is an issue. And Guckenheimer, we want to make sure that we are bridging that gap. So yes, stand by. You're going to see stuff. Some comms are going to come down. Emails are going to happen. Stand by. We're going to have
Sounds like
some.
Julie wants to be on the panel. I'm excited to hear from her.
Right?
Thank you, Julie.
I have a question from one of our allies. How can us men better support or insist on or drive change when it comes to gender bias? Adam, give it is. I think
when you see it, call it out. If you see it happening or you hear of it happening, whether it's hearsay or not, investigate. Don't brush it off. Talk about it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, and it can't be from when I was younger too, where you just kind of like, oh, at least it's not happening to me, or then it does happen to you, and you're like, well, nobody did anything about it before. It's just have the conversations. It's difficult. It's uncomfortable. But if you don't bring it up, no one's going to notice, and you're not going to hear about it. And then we'll see a question like this. So, I mean, I applaud that question, Chef. That's a great call out.
Yeah, Chef, you also mentioned, don't just stand for the success of other women, assist on it. That is an awesome quote. And I think all of us, we can see that. We can see when things, that's not quite right. Or, hey, let's empower each other. Let's do that. I don't know how I clicked on that last quote. So
that was convenient.
I know, right? I was like, whoop, whoop, power to me. Here we go. So any last thoughts that you guys have from the panel? Do you guys have anything else you want to add to this?
I'll just say that, it's not only obviously is it great for us to be empowering one another and supporting women in general, but it's also good for business. When women are in more leadership positions, companies become more profitable.
Yeah, totally. Christina, any last words?
I would totally agree. I think we just keep the momentum going and we support each other, network, and just be a good listener. Be there for people.
Yep. Short last word, Alex.
I had so much fun doing this. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Like, this was great. I do hope we take Julie's, feedback and make this a monthly thing. I'd love to hear from everybody. I'm always inspired. The two of you were just insanely fascinating. So thank you both.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to wrap this up. More to come on all of this. This recording is going to be up. So if you have team members that wanted to watch, you can go ahead and use that same link that you used in the invite to be able to watch it. I also want everybody to just say, happy birthday, Sloan. Yes.
Yes. She's 10.
Yes. So you guys, that wraps it up for this edition of our panel of Women in Food Service. Thank you for watching. Thank you to our panel for you guys doing it. Their bios are down in the video description if you want to know more about them. Again, reach out to anybody, anytime. We need to help each other. We need to mentor each other. And I think we'll get there one day at a time. Remember, 40 weeks, you guys, 40 weeks. Let's do this. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.